He kōna e purangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
Kia ora and a very warm welcome to the Kākāpō Files from RNZ. Ko Alison Ballancer. We are taking a deep dive into the life and times of New Zealand's night parrot as we follow the ups and maybe downs of what could be a record-breaking breeding season for the Kākāpō. This is episode 7, Full Steam Ahead. Now, if you like pictures with your podcast, may I recommend you head on over to Kākāpō Nest Cam so you can listen to the Kākāpō Files and watch the female Rakiura incubating eggs in her underground nest live from Whenua Hou. There's a link to the Nest Cam in our show notes, on the Kākāpō Recovery Program Facebook page, or you can simply search online. We'll be hearing more about Nest Cam later in the show, but for now, it is all go out on the Kākāpō Islands. So this week I thought we needed several news updates from the Kākāpō recovery team just to keep up with the happenings. First up is some exciting world first news in a chat that I recorded on Friday, January the 23rd with Technical Advisor Daryl Eason.
Kia ora, Daryl.
Kia ora, Alison.
It's such a busy time, and you and I have a particularly exciting thing to talk about. Would you like to tell us about Ongaonga?
Yeah, Ongaonga mated with Tūtarangi, and the special thing about Ongaonga is that she is just 4 years old. So that's the youngest Kākāpō we've had mating.
That's stunning news.
It is. So this is really the first good year we've had to test 4-year-olds, because it's not often that breeding seasons come this far apart. We had just the 2005, 3 females from that season didn't breed in 2008 or 2009 when they're 3 and 4-year-old, but those 3 didn't even start until they were over 10 years old, so they weren't a good test. So this is our first test, and we've got 24 females from that season, so I don't expect all will nest, but some might surprise us, like Ongaonga, and we'll see what happens as the season goes on.
Can I be a little pedantic? Because actually, she's just not quite 4 yet. I looked up her birth date just now, and she hatched on the 12th of February, so she's 3 years and 49 weeks.
Yeah, that's true. I just think of them as their birth dates coming up in sometime in the next month or two, so I think of them like that.
That's brilliant news. And as you say, there's 24 of these young birds from 2022. So if any more of them take part, then this starts becoming an enormous breeding season on top of the 83 females that we know are of breeding age.
Yeah, it sure does. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens, and it'll keep us very busy.
We've had 5-year-old females breed before. What's their success rate?
I think they're pretty similar, really. They seem to be just about as good as older females. And once they start nesting, they don't seem to show any unusual problems about slow to start or learning. If there's good food out there and they have fertile eggs or chicks, then they seem to be really good mums as well.
Well, let's talk a bit about Tūtarangi, the male that she mated with. Tell me about him.
So Tūtarangi was Hini Tomai's son. She had 3 chicks in 2016, so he's just coming up 10 years old. So this is his first real breeding season. I think he was doing a bit of practice booming last time in 2022, but this time he's obviously really got it together, and he's already mated with 3 females now. Kohingi on the 20th, Ongaonga on the 21st, and last night he mated with Hou. So all young birds, young first-time breeders.
Gosh, there's no stopping him. It'll be really interesting to see how many chicks he fathers. Previously, what have the youngest males been who've managed to successfully breed?
That would be Komaru and Turako. They were 8 years old when they first had chicks.
And have younger males tried to breed?
Yes, in 2002, the 5-year-olds, Tiwai and Manu, both boomed well, and Tiwai mated, but his eggs were infertile.
Okay, so those are the young dudes. You've been trying to give some of the older Kākāpō a bit of a helping hand with the artificial insemination program, which has been a bit of a focus for you out on Whenua Hou for the last 2 weeks. So how many artificial inseminations did you manage to do?
We managed to do 6. Yeah, we got straight off with Esperance. Her nest was found yesterday and she has 2 eggs. So we don't know the fertility status yet, but we inseminated her with sperm from both Ralph and Huri. Ralph was quite a good sample. Huri was quite small. So rather than waste it, we put that into.
And we've also heard about AI with Hou. She mated with her half-brother Hondi, and you did AI with
Stumpy. Stumpy's a very reliable semen donor, so he's good. Our first choice was Faulkner and Milford. We didn't get anything from Faulkner and just a small sample from Milford. Those are reasonably young birds. Milford we're after because he injured his foot, so he's probably not going to be a successful breeder in the future, and he's the son of Gulliver, a Fiordland bird. He had a few sperm, so again, they've been mixed in with Stumpy, and it looks like at least Hou's first egg is fertile.
And I think last week we heard that Heather had been inseminated with sperm from Bonus, and I had talked with you in the last episode about how those were birds that you were keen to have more chicks, so that's a good match for you?
It is. That's a really good match. I'm particularly keen on Bonus and Joe. This is the first time I've tried to collect semen from Bonus, and it wasn't a perfect sample, but it was good. So we'll just see how that one goes.
You didn't manage to succeed getting sperm from Joe by the sound of it.
No, not yet. First time we tried last week was unsuccessful, and we've also done 3 other birds. So we did Vori, who was the same scenario as Hou, Stumpy and Milford again, and Nora with Bluster Murphy. And we had a little bit left over from Bluster, so we also caught Guapo and Moss and got small amounts from them. And those 3 all went together for artificial insemination of Rakiura. And Rakiura was just 2 days before she laid her first egg. So we know that first egg can't be fathered by the artificial insemination.
Oh, well, that brings me to the question. I've had a couple of listeners, Susan and Joe, both wrote in and asked more or less the same question, which is, if a Kākāpō female mates with more than one male, or if she mates and also has artificial insemination, and if there are chicks, is it possible they could have different fathers? And if they have multiple fathers, would the oldest chick be fertilised by the first mating or not necessarily?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. The first answer is yes, they can have multiple fathers, but it doesn't seem to happen very often. We've had it once with the natural mating situation where a bird is mated with 2 different males and they've had 2 fathers in the same clutch. But most of the time that 2 fathers in the same clutch happens is following artificial insemination. So that's happened a few times now. It's more often than not that the last male to mate fathers the chicks. It happens probably about 2/3 of the time.
Thanks, Daryl. And go the 4-year-olds. Now, in episode 6, we had news of 24 matings and 4 nests. But a week is a long time in Kākāpō land. So let's check in with Doc's Kākāpō team for another update on mating and nesting. I caught up with Kākāpō Ranger Maddy Whitaker yesterday for all the latest news.
Kia ora, Maddy.
Kia ora, Alison. How's it going?
It's going well. Where are you? Last time I spoke to you, you were on Whenua Hou.
Yes, I'm now on Pukenui, or Anchor Island, out in Dusky Sound, our other main breeding island.
And how's it going weather-wise?
Surprisingly, it's been very, very dry and sunny out here, unlike the rest of the country, which is a bit ironic for Fiordland. In fact, it's been so dry that we've run out of creek water for a few days.
That's a little unusual for Fiordland.
Yeah, absolutely. Though I like to think that the clear nights have been encouraging mating. Whether there's any science to that, I'm not sure.
Well, I'm sure it doesn't harm things. So how have things been going on the mating front?
Across the islands, really, really great. Anchor's had 25 matings that we've picked up so far. 13 on Whenua Hou and 3 on Te Kākāpō or Chalky Island. And as a result of those, we've had 15 nests found across the islands, 7 on Anchor, 6 on Whenua Hou, and we think 2 on Te Kākāpō based on the activity of the females dropping down into sort of incubation-like behaviour, which is very, very exciting. We've gone to some of those nests, and so far we've observed 26 eggs between all of the different nests, but it's still quite early stage. A lot of the mums are still laying their clutch. They've only got 1 or 2 eggs, so we've actually only candled 7 eggs in nests. So the majority of the eggs that are out there, we're unsure currently if they're fertile or not. But of the ones that we have checked, we've had 2 that have been fertile, and unfortunately one of those did not survive. So we've just got the 1 fertile egg at the moment on Whenua Hou.
Oh, well, that's a bit of a disappointment on the egg front, I have to say, but let's just wind back. So if my quick arithmetic serves me right, that's 41 matings in total. We're getting there. So that's about halfway if you only consider the 83 breeding age females over the age of 5. So that's going pretty well.
Yeah, hopefully Whenua Hou's had a bit of a more quiet week this past week, but they seem to be picking up again. So I think there's a few more particularly to come there.
Now, I talked with Deirdre last week about some nests that had been detected without matings going with them. Have there been any more of those situations where the mating hasn't been detected but the female has gone into nesting mode?
Yes, so we've had 5 females on Anchor whose behaviour looks like they're incubating, and some of them we have confirmed by finding nests. 1 on Whenua Hou, and there's 2 that we suspect on Te Kākāpō. So that's when the female, her activity drops to only a couple of hours each night, or sometimes even lower. So that's really awesome, having that activity data to catch any birds that fall through the cracks.
And how's the rate of females who are mating only once going compared to females that mate 2 or more times?
Definitely more single matings this year than we would ideally like. Yeah, Anchor has had a few more double or triple matings than Whenua Hou, but across the board, most of the birds have only mated once. There is a possibility that there are matings that we're not detecting as well. So it's a little bit hard to say definitively exactly what's happening, but it would be nice if some of them decided to return to their lovers.
That's right, because of course, if they only mate once, it's just a 50-50 fertility chance, and their fertility rate increases significantly if they mate 2 or 3 times. So we really would like them to mate more than once.
Yeah, definitely.
It does sound like things are getting quite busy. So on a day-to-day basis, are you involved in finding the nests?
Yes, a lot of our work over the past week or so has been going out and finding nests and setting up technology at the nests that help us to know when the mum is there and when she leaves. This is going to be particularly important for when we go back and candle the eggs at night. So mum will get off the nest, and then we can come in and look at the eggs and see how they're developing without upsetting mum or risking making her abandon the nest, and then we can all be gone before she comes back. So we've sort of been setting up the technology and making way for those sort of checks. Some of them have already started on Whenua Hou, and for Anchor they're going to be starting in the next day or so. So yeah, there'll start to be quite a few rangers sleeping out on the hill rather than at the hut. So it's all very exciting to find the nests and see it all happening. We've been waiting for this for a very long time.
So what kind of places are the females choosing to nest? Describe some nest sites to me.
Yeah, there's been a real variety. We've had some mums in really thick, big rata, really solid nests, which is really fantastic. You know, they're going to be well sheltered from the elements. We've had some mums sort of in the side of banks in sort of underground holes. And then we've had one female that decided to nest in sort of an open stump with a skylight, which is not ideal for when there's eventually going to be a deluge in Fiordland here on Anchor. We'll probably need to do some modifications to some of those nests. So when we go in at night, we might put up some canvas or other waterproofing materials just to make sure that mum isn't going to be sitting there getting soaked while she's trying to keep her eggs warm. But we're also trying to keep some ventilation into the nest. And when we look at the nest, we're also thinking, are we going to be able to access the eggs and the chicks safely? So sometimes you might need to create an alternative entrance into the nest or a hatch that the rangers can go through that might be different to where mum comes in and out.
I do like the idea of the renovations to reach a Kākāpō healthy home standard.
Yeah, that is quite a fun way to think about it, yeah.
And they're so tolerant when you do that.
Some of them are. That's definitely something we look at when we first find their nest, is you sort of gauge the behaviour of the mum. So there are some mums that are a lot more tolerant of you being there, and you might even be able to look at their eggs while she's still on the nest. And then there's some mums that are very vocal, quite lungy, and you know that you're going to be waiting for night work to do any changes, because they might come and charge you, or there might be risk to the eggs if you were to muck around with the nest too much while she's there. So that's also an important observation when we first discover the nests.
Now, one of the things that I had the pleasure of doing last night was sitting watching for a while Rakiura the Kākāpō on the brand new Nest Cam, and I gathered that we have Jake Osborne with us, who is the reason that we have Nest Cam to watch. Are you there, Jake?
Yeah, kia ora, Alison. Good morning.
Kia ora. It was delightful last night. When I was watching her, Rakiura was preening, and she was diligently cleaning each feather and looking very fluffed up and very comfortable. And it's an amazing thing to be able to sit and watch a Kākāpō in real life.
Yeah, we've all been quite thrilled to be able to watch her in her natural nesting behaviour. And for the first time, we think, for anyone alive today, lay a couple of eggs. Pretty cool to see in full high definition.
What does it take to put that camera in a nest on an island offshore in New Zealand?
A lot of effort, trial and error. It's one thing to get a camera to work. It's another thing to keep a camera working in an environment like that with a stable connection, to get enough power to run it all night, all day. Requires, quite a lot of solar power, some pretty big batteries, some computers, routers, all sorts of things, things that let us monitor it remotely, because one of the main requirements for it was that it doesn't take up any of our rangers' time. They need to focus on working with the birds.
Yeah, so Rakiura has nested in the same nest for quite a few years, I gather, so you know the nest site well.
Yes, she's nested there every previous breeding season that she's been involved in. So, we got that camera in nice and early. But, her nest is down in a dark bit of valley, so getting solar power there is obviously impossible. So we have to power the whole thing from 300 metres away up the hill. Transporting video signal that far on a cable isn't easy. So, been quite a tricky situation.
This is all very reminiscent for me of in the late 90s, when with rather less sophisticated gear, I was doing exactly the same thing to film at Kākāpō nests and at Kākāpō track and bowl systems. And my heart goes out to you with that mission of, putting solar panels high up in trees so that they can catch enough sun, running cables through thick untracked bush. It's muddy, it rains. It's a very difficult environment to run technology in, basically.
Yeah, it is. Yep. Even gets salt spray, even though it's a good 100 and something metres above sea level when there's a stiff sou'wester. So keeping it all tickety-boo is quite tricky. And unfortunately, because of rules around flying batteries, those heavy batteries had to be carried up the hill by a couple of rangers.
Oh, that brings back memories.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do, to carry a dense battery. But as you say, the wonderful thing is that they're just so accepting. You can put a camera in their nest, and as long as it's not in their way, they're very happy for it to be there, and they just get on with doing all their natural things.
Yeah, it's a totally silent camera, so you can't hear it. It just has a bit of infrared light coming out of it, which we're not sure if Kākāpō can see infrared light, but it's pretty unlikely.
Yeah, so infrared, that's why the image is black and white.
Yeah, on very few occasions, if it's sunny enough, you can get a bit of colour, but it's pretty rare.
I think the amazing thing to remember is that she's sitting in almost total darkness, yet we get this insight into what she's doing.
Yeah, you can imagine how dark it is in that hole.
And how's interest in the Kākāpō cam going so far?
There's regularly sort of around 100 people there at a time. And I think the last I checked, there was about 20,000 people have viewed it over the last couple of days. So that's quite cool. And there's been a lot of chat and a lot of people who also got to witness an egg being laid. So it's quite a special thing to see.
Wonderful. Well, that makes all that hard work worthwhile, Jake.
Yeah, it really does.
Well, I think my recommendation to people will be that they can watch the live stream while they listen to the podcast, and it'll be that old radio with pictures thing.
Yes, that's a great idea. And listen to the seabirds at night. It's great. That's one of my favourite aspects of it, is being able to hear those Whenua Hou seabirds at night.
Thanks, Jake. And that's the show. Join us again next week for more Kākāpō news and behind-the-scenes details. The Kākāpō Files is produced by RNZ in collaboration with the New Zealand Department of Conservation's Kākāpō Recovery Program. A special thanks this week to Technical Advisor Daryl Eason and Rangers Maddy Whitaker and Jake Osborne. This episode was produced by me, Alison Balance, with help from RNZ's Claire Concannon. Sound engineer was William Saunders. I'm loving getting your questions and tracking down answers, so keep sending them in. Kākāpō@rnz.co.nz is the email address. You can find the Kākāpō Files online at rnz.co.nz or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please share the link with fellow nature nerds and rate and review us if you can. It helps folk find us. I'll catch you next time. But for now, thanks for listening. Mā te wā.